So yeah, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Cute for Teams. Champions using Teams effectively. I think I see the usual suspects here. So welcome back, everybody. Ricardo Wilkins here. I don't know if Stacy's joining today or not. So we can just dive right in. We can come off mute or put in chat if you came here with any questions or anything. I was going to talk about tasks in Teams, if there was any interest there, any lack of questions. But I will give a spot here for anybody that has a question, wants to throw anything out there. Or you probably have stopped using Teams and you're all in this AI chat stuff. That's the new flavor of the month, I guess. I see a little typing in the chat. I'll give that a sec. Okay, so there is some chat GPT interest out there. Yeah, so you're pointing out an article about Microsoft rolling out ChatGPT-powered Teams Premium. We have talked a little bit about Teams Premium here in the past. I'm certainly not ready to or prepared to like try to demo anything on that per se, but I can speak to it a bit in that, and it's something I need to dive into more as well. By the way, Stacy, we're talking Chat GPT and Teams Premium here.
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Really? That's what we want to talk about? No, I'm just kidding.
So one Teams Premium, at least commercial. I don't know if it's also released in GCC as well, but that I think has gone GA, what we call GA, or fully available. It wasn't like a trial, and now those trials are being converted to like full licenses. And from a AI perspective, again, I can't. I don't want to speak to the Chat GPT specifically. I'll just make it more generic and say AI. The excitement I have and where I want to dive into it more, and where we're probably all excited about, is in the way of Teams meetings. What you may have seen is things like AI being able to help with the meeting notes and the assignment of tasks, and kind of calling out where in a meeting recording someone was mentioned. So there are some cool things there that again, I don't know what's completely fleshed out in the current version of Teams Premium that is just now kind of launching to the world, but that it is an exciting time to think about AI helping us with the task and the follow through of the outcomes and results of our meetings, as well as when we're in the meeting, we consider AI being responsible for the live real-time captioning that's occurring, which I actually am using more often in my meetings. In fact, it's on right now. I think that's just for me. I think that's a thing you turn on for just for yourself. But I've been having it on for most of my meetings lately. And again, I'm just generically saying that AI is really helping our meetings across the board in these different areas. So that's what we have, coming, and that's what's exciting about these announcements with AI powering Teams Premium. Exactly how that'll look, and when me or Stacy can kind of put a nice demo together for that, just needs us to get some time to really dive into it. Stacy, I'm assuming you haven't dived deep into the Teams Premium pieces yet as well. Would that be accurate?
You assume accurately.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, there may be one of you on the call that has kind of checked that out, because like I said, if you've got your own personal O365 account, that Teams Premium is available to you, was available by a trial, should be now available, or you should start getting messages about, hey, your trial's running out. Would you like to, pay? So certainly out there. I don't know if anybody else has been diving into the premium. I did in my personal tenant, for instance, start doing some custom backgrounds on my meeting joins, and started looking at the back end admin settings for it. So there's some stuff there for sure. So yeah, I guess all I did, Lisa, was just share your excitement and interests without really giving you too much detailed info. But as that goes on, we'll certainly try to bring more of that to you here. Yeah, because I think this particular tenant that we're looking at, I don't think has anything related to Teams Premium. I'm checking my other one as well quickly. But yeah, good stuff coming. I'll say all that to say I think the excitement is real. It's not fluff. There's some good things coming. Anybody with a thought or share that excitement or think it's a fad, or I mean, we're open to all all feedback here. Okay. But yeah, again, as we learn more, we'll bring it here to you. Any other thoughts in the chat or questions or comments? Anybody interested in talking about? Oh, Glenn, I see your hand up.
Hi, we are going to have a wellness fair in which all the healthcare insurance providers and yoga instructors and Kaiser Hospital and all these people are going to come and have. Before COVID, we had one big hall with the tables around the walls, and people had all their paper handouts and gave verbal presentations, and staff just milled around from table to table. And last year, we did it exclusively on Teams, which worked very well. But this year, we are going to have a combination of the old way of tables around the walls for people who are in the office, combined with Teams. And we are getting some of our conference rooms hooked up with audio video equipment so that a presenter can bring in their laptop and present on Teams while there are people in the room listening and asking questions and so on. So do you have any hints for us, since this is the first time we'll be doing this combined approach?
One thing that came to mind as you were talking is to not forget about and to maybe put some thought into the mobile app and how it can help with that. In my mind, I'm thinking even a person on site, if you can complement what they see on site with, a channel they can follow on their phone, with whether it's pop up of new content, or hey, room 53 is about to have the presentation on the XYZ, just making that mobile app the companion to that on-site person's experience. And then of course the person is fully remote, it might be their main place they go to see what presentation is about to start, or things like that. Maybe asking a question of a particular table that that is on site. So I say all that to say, just don't forget the power of the mobile app. There's a lot of good stuff in there, and to the point, I have plans of doing more sessions of my own and on my channel related to specifically to the mobile app and things that it can do. So that would be my first thought. Think of that as a companion app for each user in the that's attending this. The other thing I would just think about is those people in the rooms who are giving a presentation that has some remote as well as it has remote attendees as well as on site. that kind of presenter, to me these days, should practice their remote and on-site delivery. And by that, I mean, you want to make sure and this goes even beyond, you guys' particular event, but any of us who are presenting remote and on-site at the same time, we've got to get good at doing that delivery in a way that is as engaging for the remote people as it is for the on-site. It is certainly easy to start to cater to the on-site because they're right in front of your face and and necessarily forget, to some degree, the remote users there until they, speak up or raise their hand. So that would be another tip, is just to get the presenters to kind of be conscious of how can I make this engaging for both parties. One of those ways would be to make sure, that they are on camera. And again, not for the remote people to see the on-site participants, but to see them as the presenter, right? So yes, the on-site people can look right in your face, but make sure the remote people can look at your face as well. That's one way to help. So yeah, just don't over cater to the on-site folks would be one of my tips there. Did I cover it pretty good, Stacy?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
And I would be interested, if you come back to this group and kind of let us know how that went, because those are scenarios that I think all of us would be interested in as we are, dealing with hybrid events like that, hybrid presentation. So I'm really interested to see how that goes for you.
Okay, it's going to be in May, so we have time to practice.
Well, there you go. Anybody else have any tips for that kind of hybrid event? I don't know if anybody out there has done similar things, had some good success stories or best practices. Okay. Sounds like we'll all be anxiously awaiting the see how that goes for you. See your hand there, Glenn.
Yeah, I just what we did last year was each presenter, yoga instructor, Kaiser Hospital, whatever, had their own Teams link. So attendees could click into a link and be in that Teams meeting, and then click the red leave button and leave and go and visit another one. And we did it that way because it's my understanding, they had asked us, well, can we do one meeting with many breakout rooms? And I said no, because it's my understanding that an attendee in a breakout room cannot move themselves from one breakout room to another. Only the organizer can do. Is that correct? Because, I said, if we have 300 people and the organizer has the only one that can move them from room to room, that's not going to work. So I made each event a separate Teams meeting. So if
But can't they bring themselves back to the main room and then from there pick another one, Ricardo? Or am I oversimplifying something I haven't tinkered with in a bit?
So I think that would require the organizer or someone to kind of paste the links of all the breakout rooms. I feel like it would be more work to try to make that breakout room concept work versus just separate rooms, or separate meetings, I should say. Because in general, I'm not aware of the other breakout rooms that have been created in that concept for me to move around unless you make them known to me. And so if you're already doing that work, then I would think there might as well just be meetings, full-fledged meetings. Could go either way. I just don't know what you'd gain necessarily from the breakout rooms, unless you as the organizer were interested in moving people around yourself. But otherwise, if it's more about them moving themselves, then separate meetings gives you, same mileage as breakout rooms. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just thought, well, the attendees are muted and locked down, and so I don't think that they have the permissions to move themselves from breakout room to breakout room. Is that
Yeah.
right or not right? Or
Well, I think as Stacey was saying, I think you can leave a breakout room to go back to main. And if I went back to main and then the chat was a list of links to other breakout rooms, I think technically I could join those other breakout rooms. I don't know if I've ever seen that or tried that, but in theory, that seems like that would work. However, I just think it'd be probably cleaner to just have, 10 meetings that I can just hop around without having to worry about coming back to a main room. And, I don't know what that main room and breakout room concept would give you in this
Yeah,
particular
and
scenario.
I also like it for just segmenting any recordings, segmenting any attendee reports. You could do separate registrations. There's all sorts of things that separate meeting invites would facilitate. So breakout rooms is certainly, it's got its niche, but I think Ricardo's right. I think it would lower the overhead and deliver the wraparound, all of the what's the word I'm looking for? All of the things that come out of a meeting separately in a way that would, all those assets, I guess is the word I was looking for, that come to the organizer from a meeting and the participation in that meeting. I think that would be ideal to have it separate and segmented.
And I also think once you get removed from a breakout room, you're removed from the chat as well. Uh, at least that's been my experience in breakout rooms that I've been in. Once I'm back to the main or whatever, that room is it's closed. Versus if you had separate meetings, you could continue some dialogue and continue some collaboration there if that's your goal. So it just seems like you got a little more flexibility um, with separate meetings in this particular scenario.
yes, thank you, and I appreciate your point about the reports because that has become more of a popular issue. People want those reports, who attended, for how long, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Any breakout room fans in the room that have a thought here?
Well, I'll tell you one way that we have used breakout rooms successfully is our recruiter, instead of interviewing one new applicant at a time, sets up a Teams meeting with multiple breakout rooms and has multiple applicants join. He puts them in the separate breakout rooms, gives them some kind of task to perform, question to answer, or whatever the case may be. And then in the early days of Teams, when he went into the breakout room to check on them and left the breakout room, it would close the breakout room and kick the person out. And then an improvement was made, and now he can pop in and out of the different breakout rooms. How are you doing? Do you have any questions? Move on to the next one. How are you doing? He can go in and out of the breakout rooms, checking on all the people. Then at the end, wrap everything up. And so that breakout rooms has worked well for our recruiter in interviewing new applicants.
Nice.
And they're external also to our organization.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been very helpful for him.
Yeah. I think a feature I would love to see there. I'm just imagining these interviewees by themselves in this dark room with this black background. It'd be nice if there was, I don't know, I'm thinking like background music or something, something they can look at so they don't feel alone.
Well,
But,
before COVID, we used to make them come in and sit in a computer room and do the exercise on the computer. But,
okay.
now thanks to Teams, we can do it all remote. So.
There you go. So at least they're in the comfort of their homes, I guess. Yeah. Nice. That is good stuff. So What else is going on in the world of teams champions? Anybody got a success story from this past week they want to share? Teams save you from something this week? Well, I will, Stacy, before you came on, I could talk about cast and teams. That is a interesting topic of mine. We got a few minutes left here. I can give the short version of what I want to talk about. And does anybody maybe by show of thumbs up, big user of tasks in Teams or tasks in Office 365? Let's put it that way. I know there are some that have their own ways of managing their work. Um, Sometimes it's more, physical. I've got my, notebook with my list of stuff to do. I'll just
That's
show
how
a
I
couple.
am. I
Yeah.
go a little bit in fits and spurts, and I fall back to the pen and the paper. And I really get frustrated with myself when I do that.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot more reliability in putting it in to do and monitoring things that way. And I love, like, you have insights up there. I love how it's all integrated and connected and I can click through. It's when I write it down somewhere and then I have to go find it and then I have to type it in. I love that I can turn emails into tasks and Teams messages into tasks and things like that. And I should rely on that more.
Yeah. Now, I would, depending on who you talk to, your approach is just as good as the digital. I mean, I've seen plenty of productivity experts, talk about the value of the writing it on paper and having a physical thing that you have to deal with. It's a lot harder to ignore that than some digital thing to click on. So I wouldn't necessarily give up on yourself from that perspective. I was a big GTD, getting things done methodology follower for a while. So that physical paper tends to be a part of that. And the key is, as long as you've got a review period to take that paper and either do the thing or turn it into the digital, I think you're still good there and can still incorporate tasks and everything else here as well. The point I want to call out is just so we know that about the integration of tasks. And I will say, there's two versions of the story today, at least the GCC version and the commercial version. Today, and we're looking at a GCC tenant here. You still have planner versus the a full task tab, which I can show in a second in the commercial. And these are all team specific tasks. What you're not seeing here is your individual tasks. However, even in GCC, you do have to do in GCC. So you can manage your personal items both here in the web to do and then over in your Outlook. You have this little tab here with your calendar and to do items. So there's an integration piece here, and we can drag things over and turn our items into tasks, or hit flag and they'll be flagged. They'll be in the flagged emails area. That should pop up eventually. It's not instantaneous all the time. So you do have both your personal task management and your team's task management. What is, though, coming, I guess, would be the full integration of that. I'm going to switch over to the our commercial tenant here, where you'll then see task here that is incorporating both my team related tasks as well as, and it's hard to see this, but this is also my personal tasks as well. So I've just put something in there, and if I go over to where am I? But it basically has the integration of my personal, if I can get there fast enough, and my teams. Where is that? So blah 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 blah. Just to kind of prove it, it should. Or is it? There we go. I'm glad it finally showed up. So hopefully you see the difference there. Commercial versus GCC is that from Teams, I added that task. It showed up in my personal to-do item. Okay, so hopefully you can make that distinction. The last piece then I want to say to that in the time we have is that from a Teams perspective, you certainly have this, whether it's Planner in GCC or Planner and To-Do in commercial. But a lot of our tasks tend to be, because we're Teams champions and so much of our work is in Teams, tends to be tasks that get generated from something that happened in Teams. And so let's say this was maybe something a little more relevant that I wanted to turn into a task. Our 3 dots here in commercial does give us the create task option, which in this case is giving us the option to either make this a personal task for us by using that, or a team task. And that's what GCC would show. It wouldn't show the personal task, it just show the teams. But beyond that, the other stuff is there. What's different in GCC is because it's planner based, it's going to ask about who this should be assigned to as well. But the secret sauce for us champions, I think, is that this concept, whether you're in commercial or GCC, is giving you this unique URL to these things, like in this case, a Teams chat. And you'll say, well, I can just do copy link. Why is that a big deal? This is in a lot of places, but it is not in all places where you might want to turn something into a task. I think case in point is within a chat like this one. And let me try to find something with an actual message. Like this one here, I don't think this isn't going to get a copy link for you. Well, I could theorize why not, but even without that copy link, create tasks is still pulling a URL for that, which I could then create my own tasks or pop that into OneNote if I want to be able to shoot back to this later, all those kind of things. So the short version, or the main thing I'm trying to pull from all of that is links to things in Teams, is what can kind of be our linchpin to kind of manage our tasks, with that assumption that because we're Teams champions, most of our stuff happens in Teams. So again, you have the ability in both GCC and commercial. It's a little more integration though in the commercial side. I'll switch back to GCC. But again, I don't know if people are using that a lot, or and if you're someone like Stacy, for instance, that has a paper version there, then it's really about just coming into to do and turning that paper into something. Now I get really geeky. I'd probably take a picture of that piece of paper, which then could be uploaded into one of these tasks, all that good stuff. But whatever works for you. But I am a big proponent of the task management capabilities, and I do like that we are on a path of converging. This vision of having all of my tasks, whether they're individual or teams based, all in one place. So just something to think about there. And someone mentioned OneNote in the chat, and most of I'm a OneNote fanatic as well. And so yes, that is a place where I take those Teams links and pop them in OneNote, and then in one place I've got all the chats that are relevant to that thing, as well as any other artifacts that might be there in OneNote as well. And for old school OneNote fans, that you can actually create tasks in OneNote to OneNote pieces that'll, also go into your to-do as well. So that was like the 4-minute version of my love for tasks and teams. Any thoughts or questions or comments there?
That was well worth it. I want to manage my tasks like you do when I grow up, Ricardo.
It is not
Very-
always a trivial thing. Sometimes I feel like I'm working a little hard to keep things organized, and
Yeah,
that's
but it
that for
pays
all of us
off.
task managers. Yeah, have I now done more work to organize my tasks than I could have been just doing the task itself?
Don't go there.
Right. Yeah.
No, it's
So,
definitely worth it to have it all in one place and organized.
yeah.
And I think we do a pretty darn good job of giving people tools to do that. So,
Yeah. Stuff.
yeah.
All right. We're glad y'all could join us. More to come next week, and yeah, we'll just keep it rocking and rolling. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe and check out the blog for more content.